Hey everyone, and welcome to the Coso Capital Podcast, where we discuss wealth building and personal development. We are real estate investors and mortgage lenders, and on this show, we share our experience of what's going on in the market, books we're reading, and more. Now, today is February the 3rd, and the market is interesting. The Fed made some decisions as of late. Tariffs are here. We're going to talk about all that. And then I'm going to go over a Millionaire article I found a few months ago. I thought that was interesting. Bring it up and we can go over some of that. And then lastly, end up with some books that I read recently. So let's go. So starting with the market, well, interest rates, according to Zillow, as of this week are about 6.57%. That's actually great news. That means that they went down as of late. They were actually 6.75, closer to 7 within the last few weeks. And now they're in the mid sixes, which is a big positive. And now the Fed did have a meeting last week and they made some decisions at this meeting. They actually kept the interest rate steady that the Federal Reserve controls, right? So if you're just with us in the first time, the Federal Reserve, what they do is they control the overnight lending rate that banks lend to each other. And what happens there is then it kind of trickles down into the economy. What ends up happening is depending on how long they keep the rate at that position is how long the rates in the economy, how they'll eventually move. Now, that's just one factor in interest rates because interest rates are also based on investments on people that are buying the US 10-year treasury. And those are investors. And they're doing that based on decisions of what they expect the world economy to do, the US economy to do, and so many other factors. Now, as of late, the 10-year treasury has gone up. And that's because investors, to be able to purchase it, they required higher returns to take that on. Part of the reason they've mentioned before, a lot of other experts are saying the tariffs with the new administration, immigration policy, all those things can potentially push up inflation and create more risk. Now, as of late, tariffs were kind of thrown out, and then we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, but then they kind of went back again. So that has helped to control the 10-year treasury and actually bring it down just a bit. And when just a bit is significant. So these are some of the quotes from the last meeting and also around the meeting, all of the Federal Reserve governors. So there's a group of governors that they're not governors from states. They're called Fed governors. They sit on each on the Federal Reserve board. And these people are the ones that make the final decisions. They vote. And the ones that the people on that committee, this is what they said. The unemployment rate has stabilized at a low level. That means that the unemployment rate there, it's low and it's low compared to historical standards. I believe it's like around 4.1%, and that's for the entire United States. The labor market remains solid. What does that mean? That means that there's a lot of jobs, but there aren't too many jobs. A few years ago after COVID, there were two jobs and only one employee. So what happens? Wages went up a lot. Well, that's good if you're an employee, but it also pushes up inflation because now wages go up, companies need to pay more, and companies also increase prices, right, to make up for that, right? Nothing is free, no free lunch. The labor market remains solid. Then the next one was economic activity has continued to expand at a solid pace. So that means the economy is growing, the economy is strong. And what else is this? I really don't understand. They don't really kind of bring out all these details. It's kind of more for us economic nerds. But what they're saying is a recession is not on the horizon. The economy is strong, it's doing well. Don't expect that there's going to be a recession. Now, you should always expect a recession, right? You should always be ready for it because you never know. But in the forecast, the high likelihood of recession is probably not going to happen. But always have that cushion for the just in case. The other thing that they said is inflation remains somewhat elevated. So the reason that they didn't cut, they kept rates steady, was because inflation is still higher than what it should be. And what's the target for inflation? Well, if you've been on the show, you've heard or you've seen it in the news, it's 2%. they're targeting at least a 2% inflation rate over the long term. And right now it's sitting at about, I think it was between 2.6 and 2.8%, depending on what you're looking at. So it's still higher than what they want. They kept the interest rate at 4.25 to 4.5. So it's actually higher than inflation, right? So it's pushing it down, hopefully to get to that 2%. Eventually, they'll just get it lower, maybe another point or so, keep it at 3 to 3.5, and keep inflation at 2. That's the goal, somewhere in between there. They're not saying exactly what is the neutral rate, but we'll get there. We do not need to be in a hurry to adjust our policy stance, right? So they don't need to be in a hurry. They don't need to cut now. They don't need to cut next month or the next meeting. They're in a watch and see mode. They said, we are looking for the data to guide us. We are looking for the data to guide us. So that means, and I'm really trying to educate you, if you're one of the listeners here, that you can't just listen to what the news is saying. Some of these reporters or people on TV or professors for that matter, they're saying that the Fed is going to do this, maybe even traders, the market, they're expecting, so many cuts. There's so many things priced in. Well, look, these are the people that make the decisions, and they're telling you how they're going to make that decision. How are they going to make it? We are looking for the data to guide us. That means that if this month inflation drops significantly, then they're going to probably may do a cut, but they need to see consistent data of inflation dropping significantly. Now, if inflation goes up, that means you're not going to see a cut. You may see just the same thing. They're not going to do anything. Or if it gets too out of control, they may even increase interest rates. Is that likely? Probably not. That's not what they're saying. But just so you understand, what does the data guiding us mean? The next thing is there's no urgency to cut until inflation approaches the Fed's 2% target. So until it's getting down, they're not going to cut. There's no urgency to cut. And as long as economic and labor markets remain strong, we should be cautious in making further adjustments. All right. So if this one is interesting, where it's saying if we were to go into a recession and employment rate were to go up, then that means we need to, before what happens, unemployment rate goes up, recessions, that means there's something called deflation. That means reduced prices of goods go below a normal growth rate, right? And that has a lot of risk, because if deflation catches in the economy, this is what happened in the Great Depression. That means people won't want to sell their goods because the goods are too low and too cheap. So that creates a spiral, right, of problems. Then there's no goods in the market. Then people can't find things. Then, food problems and different things. And I'm going to do a whole episode on inflation with some of those risks for you. But so they're trying to prevent that. And that means if unemployment rate shoots up, they're going to do a cut. But it's not happening, so don't expect a cut related to that anytime soon. Inflation needs to get where it needs to get. All right. And then the last thing I'll say here, and this I know is more of a political comment regarding, but this is all related, right? So economics and politics is very related, and that's why I guess I'm a bit of a politics nerd as well. But last time, the current president was pushing the Fed when he was in his last administration, the Fed to cut rates. And according to the time period, they really shouldn't have, is some of the research I've seen, and they actually did. So they did succumb to some of the pressure. At the end, these people are human. And if the data clearly says don't do it, but maybe it's on the borderline, then maybe the president's pushing, they may do it. That's not what it should be, but that's kind of what it looked in the last time they did. I think it was around 2018 where that happened. The president is pushing for rate cuts. I don't think it's prudent right now, but it may push them over the edge when it's close. All right, take that for what it's worth. That's an opinion. All right, next thing we're going to go to is regarding tariffs and immigration policies from the new administration. Well, it said they asked the Federal Reserve before about tariffs. They said, look, if there's tariffs talk, there's immigration talk, what are you guys doing, or what is the Fed doing to prepare for this? It says we need to let those policies be articulated before we can even begin to make a plausible assessment of what their implications for the economy will be. That means they need more details. So the Fed not only cuts rates on the existing data of the economy, but they also kind of look at policies that are coming forward and prepare themselves mentally, right? It's kind of like you're preparing yourself for something that's coming along before it gets, out of control, before problems arise. Well, this is a potential concern for the Fed, tariffs and immigration, because tariffs and immigration can push inflation up. So if it's too much, they may even need to increase rates, right? Or definitely keep them where they're at for longer. And now what they said is, we don't even know exactly what it is. We need more information, right? So that's where they're at right now. And it says the range of possible scenarios is very wide. It's very wide. Now, what happened with tariffs? So like a week after, right on the first, so they had their meeting like 25th, 26th, I believe. Then the president, he announced tariffs. I believe it was on the first. He actually kept his word there. He said, look, Mexico and Canada, we're going to announce a 25% tariff. And then with the exception of Canadian energy, we're only going to do 10%, right? But now that is on hold because the intent, and I was trying to really analyze this, what's the intent behind the tariffs for Mexico and Canada? Mexico and Canada and the United States, they renegotiated NAFTA into a new trade deal back around, I believe it was 2018, somewhere around that time period. So I know he got into the presidency again, it's 2025. Why is he renegotiating again? These trade deals, of what I've seen, they typically last 10, 20 years. It depends. So what ended up happening, he negotiated with Canada and Mexico to control immigration and fentanyl coming into the USA. All right, so that's a big problem in the US, fentanyl, immigration, people coming through the border, and he's trying to get Mexico and Canada to assist by preventing people from coming to the border, through the border, because we have, our policies on immigration in particular. We have the asylum policy that's a bit even difficult for the president to deal with without legislation being passed in Congress. So that was agreed to by Mexico and Canada, and then the uh, tariffs are on hold for them. Now, moving on to the next set of tariffs, and the next set of tariffs was China. And really, I thought he was going to really focus a lot more on China for tariffs because that's what he's been talking about. And he is saying that he announced a 10% import tariff on all imported goods from China. Now, then this is already on top of a 25% tariff that was put on China between 2018 and 2019, and then the last president kept on, right? So that is, we're basic on with China, there's like a 35% tariff, but maybe not on all goods, but on some of them. I could really guarantee that. Now, what are the goods that were announced this time for the new 10% imported goods tariffs? Electrical machinery and equipment. Machinery including computers, furniture and bedding, toys and sports and equipment, footwear, plastics, plastic articles, vehicles and automotive parts, optical, photographic, and medical equipment, iron and steel, textiles, and apparel. Right? So what does that mean? What is a tariff? Well, a tariff is a tax that the United States will charge on any good that is one of these goods coming from this particular country. That means that whenever you order something from there, you're going to have to pay a higher tax. Now, what is that going to do? What is the intent of the tariffs? Well, the intent is really to get China to negotiate, to do things that the United States want. But what also, tariffs are painful because what tariffs do, they're going to push consumers or businesses to purchase goods from other places instead of Chinese goods if they can get them more affordably, right? So if they can get prices of goods at a lower price from Dominican Republic, where I'm from, European Union, Latin America, call it India, Japan, South Korea, any other country, then they're going to purchase those goods from that country, right? Instead, to save money. Now, also, if it's a business and they're investing in China and they're doing manufacturing products and they're coming from China and they don't want their business to be affected, if businesses expect that the tariffs are going to be over the long term, and this already has started happening, businesses will move their manufacturing facilities out of China into countries that are not going to be having problems with tariffs or that they don't expect, because nothing's guaranteed, but that they don't expect, so that the pricing of their goods are going to be able to come into the United States at competitive prices, right? So that's the second thing that happens. And the third thing, and in some cases it's possible, but some cases it's not, the companies will move their manufacturing back into the United States, or the consumer or companies that buy products, they will buy American products. All right. So American products are really high quality products, but what ends up happening with American products is a lot of the time they're more expensive than certain imports from other countries, right? Because labor costs are much lower, and they don't have the safety requirements that the United States has. So we're not equal in how we produce things. And also Americans, and I'm gonna drink a little bit of water, we're not as good in producing certain type of products as other countries. They're more efficient at it. They have the labor force for it. They have the climate for it. They have the knowledge workers for it. Call it Taiwan with semiconductor chips. So it's just a different fit, right? So that's how tariff works, and kind of the Cliff's Notes of tariffs. Now, what is going on? What did China do? Right? China said, well, if you're going to put tariffs on us, we're not only going to put tariffs on the United States, we're also going to do some other things. And this is what they did. They put a 15% tariff on coal, liquefied natural gas, crude oil, agricultural machinery 10%, and crude oil 10%. And they put export controls on critical minerals. I didn't get the list of the minerals, but there were certain things that were being used for battery powered electric cars, and could be so many other things. And then the last thing they did, they created antitrust investigations into Google's Android operating system, right? So China has companies in China that they also do cell phones. So now they're making Google's life very difficult by doing an investigation. And then NVIDIA and Intel, they're making their lives difficult by doing an investigation. So what happens now? Well, what happens now is Google, NVIDIA, Intel are going to, complain to the administration, and they're going to lobby them and say, hey, guys, do something, because now look where we're at. So then a negotiation happens, and we'll see what the president feels that is important if to negotiate in that situation, whether China, they get what they want. So stay tuned. Let's just say that. All right. So now let's go for a word from our sponsor. If you are looking to buy or refinance your home loan, if you're looking to buy a home, we at Coso Capital can help you get the financing you need. If you don't have a realtor, we can help connect you with a realtor in your area. Or if you already have one, we partner with them to make home ownership happen. All right. I'm on the home ownership happen camp. Whether it's a home, investment property, business, or business equipment, contact Denny at Coso Cap. That's COSO Cap, CAP.com, residential or commercial, NMLS 388985. And realtors that are listening, we are always looking to build our realtor relationships. And for those of you that are looking to invest in real estate, I know a lot of people, they ask, Denny, how can I get started in investing in real estate? Well, look, if you're looking to get started in investing in real estate, you want to get access to the top markets that are growing here in the United States, and even some that are not. We have something we've put together, some beginner tips. Send me an email, Denny at CosoCap, sameplace.com. I'll share what I would tell myself if I was starting over again. And who knows, maybe down the road we can do some live events. I've thought about doing some fun things, maybe like an adventure trip, mix some education there. And maybe if you're interested, you could be part of that. Denny at CosoCap.com. All right, so now I'm actually going to go over an article that I have here. This is an article from a millionaire that he wrote, and I'll share my screen so you can see the article here, and let's see if this works. Let's see. Okay, can you see the article? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share it there. Okay, so here's the screen. You should be able to see that, hopefully. And I'm here. Let's move it over here. I think you can probably see me there. Oh, There, that's my son. All right. So, a self-made millionaire shares 8 money secrets rich people know that most don't. His name's Grant Cardone. And if you haven't heard of Grant Cardone, definitely very inspiring guy, very motivating. He's everywhere, right? He's on social media. He's doing videos, writing articles, has a big organization. He wrote a few books. Sell or Be Sold was like, I think, his first main book. Then he wrote the 10X Rule, I believe is the book. Very motivating. I don't know if you've written anything as of late, but he does like the 10X conference. I've met him at an event, took a picture with him. I have it on my Instagram. Really down to earth, cool guy. But he wrote an article, and I'm going to share some great things about the article, and then I'm going to share my take here on Grant. Okay. So it took me 20 years of trial and error before I achieve a multi-million dollar net worth. Now at 64, I draw income from 18 companies I started and the 12,000 apartments units I own. So he isn't a multifamily apartment investor. He buys big multifamily unit properties like 300 units, 200 units plus all over the country, different places in top markets. He says, but I wish I had known sooner how to ultra wealthy people think about money. I built relationships with many millionaires over the course of my investing career and have spent years observing their habits. Here are 8 money secrets that most of us don't know about. They don't diversify their investments right away. It's generally good practice to diversify your portfolio by investing in a mix of different stocks, funds, or other investments. But as wealthy as people build their net worth, they often go all in on their own projects and then diversify as they start earning more. And he throws out the example Elon Musk, for example, bet the 22 million he had made selling his first company, Zip2, entirely on his first business on an online banking service called X. After X merged with PayPal, he made 180 million off PayPal sale to eBay. That gave him the cash to invest in Tesla, SpaceX, and other ventures. Right? I like that one. The I know if you're investing in index funds and you have your job and you want to diversify, hey, go for it. Diversification is great. But if you're going to be starting a business, most entrepreneurs, they're putting everything that they have into their own business. So it's just realistic that you focus at the beginning, and then after you build a net worth, you build a strong cash flow, then you start diversifying to maintain your net worth. But to build it, you really need to focus in one particular area. That's how we build our wealth, in particularly multifamily properties, real estate investing. And then, my goal, of course, is to diversify as well, but we're still working on building our nest egg with apartments. And then the goal is then to diversify into different businesses. I've also own some stocks as well. So that is some diversification there. So yes, first focus, then when you build, then you diversify. All right. They know that debt is for businesses, not for people. As I built my net worth, I did not accumulate debt on non-essential purchases like designer clothes or luxury homes. Even if I could afford the bills, I didn't want to waste money paying interest. Instead, I wanted to put everything I was earning into generating more money. For me, that putting my income into my business. I also paid cash for my homes and have never accumulated interest on a credit card. In some cases, if you're trying to build a business, that can help you earn money by giving you access to income generating assets sooner rather than later. All right, so this one, he's talking about here, don't get into debt to buy, rich dad calls them doodads, which is, call it a jet ski. Don't want to call you out if you own a jet ski and you're financing it, financing your motorcycle, financing, your Mercedes or your BMW. Not that you don't need a car because you do, but the idea is try to own things that are not expensive to afford on the debt side. Maybe you need a car and you can finance it. Get yourself a Toyota or a Honda, right? A reliable vehicle, inexpensive compared to a Mercedes and a BMW. Whenever you're building wealth, you have enough wealth coming in from your business. Maybe you have your business make your payments for your car, right? If you're don't pay for designer clothes with credit cards and stuff like that. Buy those things, maybe put it on a card, pay it off, right? So you get the points and all that, but that's it. He said he paid his house cash. Uh, Paying your house cash is not realistic for a lot of people. So what I would say there is don't get into a huge expensive home, but get into something that you can afford so you can start building wealth through home ownership. Owning a business is not for everyone. If you're going to start a business, maybe you want to hold off on home ownership, but you may not because also owning a home could help you tap into equity to then invest in your business, grow your business, etc. So this is use good debt, right? Uh, You're going to have to pay rent either way if you own a home, and sometimes even more. Right now, I think it's maybe a little less, but take it with a grain of salt, but be smart with that, is what he's saying there. Home ownership isn't always first investment. I kind of talked a little bit about this one. Sometimes maybe you want to start your business first, then you diversify, then you own a home, you buy your home. But sometimes maybe home ownership is first. Maybe you have a career, you buy your home, maybe later you start a side gig, right? And you start a side business. Number four, instead, cash flow real estate is the place to protect and grow money. I like that one. It's a great place to protect, grow money, invest. Now, it's right. You need to learn it, or you need to invest with someone that knows it if you have capital to invest in this. So this one is you can make passive income off ownership of these properties, and it's often easier to sell them than a primary residence. When you sell a primary residence, you have to find a buyer, etc. It's a different type of animal, but I get cash flow real estate is a good investment. Number five, they always buy in bulk, right? Yep, you heard that way. They buy a Sam's, they buy a Costco. They better, buying multifamily is better than buying a single family home, but you also need to weigh the pros and cons, right? What area are you buying? What location are you buying? Let's say, there's a lot more factors there. Number six, they invest in their network. I never had someone invest in me that didn't know me, and most of the real estate I own today was purchased from sellers who picked me over qualified buyers because we had existing relationships, right? So I do believe your network is important. And I don't believe necessarily on social media network. I think networks really got built in person, on the phone, in smaller groups, via text, via email, maybe via Zoom now as well. On LinkedIn, you may use that a little bit, but you really need to get elbow to elbow, kneecap to kneecap with someone to go over something with them, right? I don't think anyone's going to invest with me on a LinkedIn post, right? They're going to, maybe a LinkedIn post leads them to my Zoom, and then we can get to know each other, and then possibly it would be a good fit to me. So just what I'll say there is try to get away from social media on building relationships. Use social media as a tool to get to the in-person, more warm relationship stuff, or on the phone or via Zoom. I kind of look at it. The first thing most important thing more, the best thing is to meet in person. The second thing is via Zoom. The third thing would be on a phone call. And then the last one would be email, then text. Number seven, they are never content. One of my friends that seriously has worked with some of the wealthiest people in the world. None of them were ever satisfied with what they already accomplished, but instead focus on the next thing that could be accomplished. They believe they can always achieve more. This helps them think big about future businesses, ideas, inventions, investments, etc. And I get the hunger, right? You want to achieve, you want to grow, and I think you definitely want to be hungry. You definitely want to achieve. You definitely want to get better. I like that mentality. It's an addicting mentality for me, but I've also learned that you also need to be thankful, and you also need to kind of live that balanced approach so you can really enjoy some of the fruits. And I got this from a book that Robert Kiyosaki, I forget was which one. I think it might have been Retire Young, Retire Rich, where he tells a story that he sold his business and he took a year off. And I think you do that for two reasons. You take that time to rejuvenate, but you also take that time to clear your mind. You don't jump into something else. You really find out what is it that you want, what is it that you want your next move to be. And I think you just make better decisions that way. Number eight, they don't waste time trying to do everything themselves. They know that time is only a true scarce resource. You can't buy more, so they maximize their time by letting go of the need for control of every small detail of their business portfolio and learn effectively outsource and delegate to good, smart people who will trade their time for money. So look, I think that's very smart, right? It's really also, I don't just look at it from the delegation point, which I think that's also important. I also look at it from the point of view that there's also this factor of finding people that are smarter than you. This is a Steve Jobs. I like to find people that are smarter than me to tell me what to do rather than telling them what to do, right? So that's also a really strong gift there. And again, look, I love Grant. I'm kind of looking at this from the point of view, it's my opinion. He has his way of doing it, and then you're going to have your way of doing it. And one thing I'll tell you about Grant is the last point is the investing in multifamily and large multifamily. He really pushes that. Now, that is not for everybody. If you have capital and you want to invest with Grant, go do it, right? Because he's very successfully done it. But if you're getting started and you want to invest in multifamily, getting started with large apartment buildings may not work for you. You may want to get started with smaller unless you have a lot of capital access, right? Unless you have a lot of deal flow in that area. You may want to start maybe like we started, right? I started with houses, then moved up into buying 20-unit apartment buildings, 24, 30, 40, and now we're doing, larger development, right? But if I would have started, I had some friends, they started, or some people I went where were part of the same organization, they started with 150 units and over, and it was really difficult for them to get off the ground. They actually did. I don't know if they ever purchased a multifamily property because it's a lot more competitive. You need a lot more capital, just a lot more difficult. All right. So we'll move on from that one. Let's see here. And let's see, that is perfect timing. So we'll finish up with some past books I've read. And then before that, a word from our sponsor. So if you would like to send in topics, ideas, questions, or examples on how you organize your finances for financial independence, email me. You can email me recommendations, questions, or you can even send an audio, right? Denny at cosocap.com. We can cover that on the show. I want to get different topics to cover, depending on what questions you have about, and then we'll go over them in different shows, different episodes. So send us an email, send us some audio, send us written, and send us examples. How you're doing your finances. Would love to hear your experience, maybe how your family does it, how they build their wealth, how you have built your wealth, or what your goals are. Denny at cosocap.com. And then the last one is, do you have capital? Do you want to diversify your investments with real estate? At Coso Capital, we provide opportunities to partner with us on our next real estate projects, or you can lend directly to borrowers that are flipping houses. As with any investment, risks are involved, but losses are possible. However, one reason I favor real estate is security of collateral. You own part of the building. If you're working on an investment with us, you own part of the LLC. We hired a securities attorney. They follow the paperwork. If it's debt, you actually have a first mortgage on the property, and an attorney does the paperwork. It's your decision if you want to participate, depending on the investment. By 2015, we started flipping houses in about 2010. In 2015, we expanded to apartment buildings, and today we focus on developing houses, townhomes, and multifamily properties on land that we own. We still own some apartments. And over the years, we've partnered with investors to acquire millions of dollars in real estate. And to ensure compliance and transparency, again, all documents are prepared by a securities attorney. We provide monthly reports to keep you informed on your investment performance. It's not for everybody, but if this is something for you, give me a shout, Denny at cosocap.com. We're always looking to grow our list, see if whoever's ready has capital available when an investment opportunity becomes available. What I typically do, we do a phone call, coffee meeting, or Zoom call, talk about the past projects we've done, share who we are, what we do, what we're about, and just look for a fit. And if there is, when a project becomes available, we send it your way. Denny at cosocap.com. All right. Now, so let's talk about books. These are some books I had actually finished at the end of 2024. And this is the last few of them. And these are some really good ones, right? Some good gems. And the first one is The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle. Code by Daniel Coyle. And the Culture Code by Daniel Coyle says that the first thing of great teams is psychological safety. People perform best in safe environments, not under strict direction, right? So the whole thing about micromanaging people, it doesn't really work, according to the data from the book. It mentioned Greg Popovich's leadership. If you heard of Greg Popovich, he's one of the winningest basketball coaches in the NBA. He's tough, but he's deeply caring. And he even tells his players, thank you for letting me coach you. Thank you for letting me coach you. Because he knows that the opposite is completely different, right? If they don't cooperate, then they can't be successful because it's their decision to let him coach them. A lot of people want him to coach them because he's so good and he kind of leads them to success, but that is a choice of the players. Larry Page Google culture. He has open debate. He has radical candor. These ads suck, right? So he shares, the truth, how he really feels about things. They over communicate and they listen, right? There's no interruptions. They acknowledge people's ideas and build on people's ideas. One of the other things is vulnerability before trust, right? So before you can build trust with people, you need to be vulnerable. right? I'm doing this show because I'm motivated about educating people financially. I want to build a business around that. And I'm going to end with one book on that subject, right? But before you can trust me, I need to be vulnerable with you. You need to understand me. You need to know what I'm about. And that's the same thing with the employee boss relationship, manager relationship, even teammates, right? Um, Pixar, the company Pixar, their leaders admit uncertainty. I was nervous to talk to you today. So now you're being human. And when you're human, most other people act human as well. The best leaders ask for help first. Trying alone is a catastrophe. Asking for help 10 times or more is effective. And that goes with a story from, I think it's the Union Square Cafe in New York City, where there was a server and she was getting started and she was training for several months under another top server and they were getting going. And this was the first day she was going to be alone. And the manager, she told him, "Hey, how's it going? You ready?" "Yes, I'm ready. I'm gonna do great today." He's like, "Anything, I should know?" He says, "Look, the only thing I'll tell you today, if you ask for help at least 10 times, you're gonna have a great day. But if you don't ask for help, it's gonna be catastrophic. So you're gonna have a tough day. So ask for help. Asking for help is important. I know in our society, right, we're in an individualistic society. We kind of want to do things on our own. I get it. It's kind of natural to me, but let's ask for help more. Let's talk to our friends, our family, our acquaintances and say, "Hey, I need help with this. Can you give me some advice? Can you point me in the right direction?" And you better know who wants to help. Super creatives thrive in structured routines. So strong relationships fuel innovations. Example, daily team lunches, right? So those things fuel innovation. Connection and belonging, why proximity matters. So Tony Hsieh's collisions theory. The more serendipitous encounters equals more ideas. And I really need to do a whole episode on Tony Hsieh because if you haven't heard of Tony Hsieh, he was just amazing. He died a few years ago at an early age. So more serendipitous encounters. So more encounters that happen randomly. That means more ideas for your organization. Quality through quantity, right? So more ideas, better ideas. There's something else called the Allen curve. Communication drops drastically beyond 8 meters. So design workplaces for proximity, right? So make it that people are very close together, right? Instead of being so far apart. And it's the same thing with connection, right? If we can get together more often, we can have better communication, better relationships versus if we don't see each other as often. Belonging cues. Small gestures matter, eye contact, warmth, and recognizing people's contributions. So it's kind of like using nonverbals to be able to communicate. It has a big impact compared to just the phone, just the email, just the text. Leadership done right. The coach, not the boss. Be the coach, not the boss. Great leaders act as trampolines, not sponges. Challenge ideas, ask good questions, and guide, but they don't dictate. So when they're listening, they're asking, "Hey, I know you've thought about this, but what about this? I know you're mentioning this, but have you looked at it from this point of view? What are you doing about this? What about this risk?" Try to be a helpful coaching leader where the person knows you build trust, right? You have that vulnerability, you built the trust. Now they know you want to help them so they can help the organization. Now find a way to help them get better, challenging them and asking them questions. The best Navy SEAL teams have less leader involvement and they equal better results. Interesting. The best Navy SEAL teams has less leader involvement, but they have better results. So you don't need to be all around your team to achieve great things as long as you give the team the right place that they're going, the guidance, and the mission. IDEO's leadership, they're not project managers, but they're design community leaders. They set the stage, not micromanage. I love IDEO. Another one, if you haven't heard of them, look them up. IDEO. Number 5, excellence is a reflex. Build cultures on continuous improvement. There's a term from Japanese culture called Kaizen. It means constant improvement, always refining, always tweaking, always over communicating the vision. This is the vision. And this is what I heard recently as a good CEO. You have to continuously communicate the vision. We're going to do X, Y, Z. This is our strategy and this is why. This is what we stand for. This is why we're doing it. And you need to really remind your organization in every form of communication, verbal, written, as much as possible, so they can adopt that vision and they don't forget about it. It needs to be top of mind. Hire smarter people and listen to everyone's ideas. B-level hires kill culture. So you have to be very strict in hiring great people. Don't settle. Don't settle. And then this goes as an employee, focus yourself on becoming an A player so you can be around A players because then you just continue building and growing from there. And that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on becoming my best self and becoming an A player. So A players are attracted to me and we all want to just work together to grow. And then I can do more philanthropy. I can do philanthropy. I can do work supporting my community and have more time for that. The last one is Danny Meyer's hospitality. This was treat employees and customers like family. Emotional intelligence is the game changer, right? I kind of look at it from that point of view that they're not family. Employees are not going to be family, but you should treat them like family. You know that the mission is to take care of the organization first, because if you take care of the organization, then you can take care of the employees. That's kind of what he says in his book. And then I like Netflix calls them everyone's a superstar that is part of the team. Sometimes superstars leave the team and they go to other teams. But while they're with us, we're a team of superstars. Final takeaway, culture isn't about perks. It's about creating an environment where people feel safe, connected, and empowered to take risks. Get the team right and success follows, right? Ooh, that was culture code. I really enjoyed that one. The next book is Becoming a Millionaire God's Way. I wanted to read this book. I was kind of looking for inspiration, Bible inspiration. I know there's a lot of wisdom in there about wealth building, and I was trying to grab some of that. And that I can remember, I didn't really get as much as I wanted. I need to, actually, I'm going to look for other books about that. And Becoming a Millionaire God's Way is by C. Thomas Anderson, explores the biblical principles of wealth, showing how faith and financial success can go hand in hand. It challenges the misconception that wealth is unspiritual and instead presents it as a tool for fulfilling God's purpose, right? It's kind of giving you permission that you can grow wealth. It's okay. And I know sometimes in certain congregations or religions, it's not okay. So it's to give that permission. The book explains that. It gives you permission that building wealth is okay and it's actually the right thing to do, right? Because if you can build wealth and you can do well, you only need so much. You can give to other people. You can take care of other people. And that's what motivates me. That's when I like to have fun, I like to enjoy, but I really also want to build wealth so I can give back to others. Key takeaways, there's a mindset shift. Wealth isn't evil, poverty is not a virtue. Money is a tool that when used correctly can create impact, generosity, and stability. How many people maybe you run into, they had a situation, no fault of their own. Maybe you could have helped them, right? If you had the financial situation. How about building wealth for that? God's partnership. Success isn't just about hustle. It's about aligning with God's principles of faith, integrity, generosity, and diligence. No matter how you feel about religion, I'm not the most religious person, but these are just universal principles: faith, integrity, generosity, diligence. Spiritual and practical strategies. The book blends biblical wisdom with real world financial tactics like investing, debt management, and creating multiple income streams. Sowing and reaping. Giving isn't just charity, it's an investment into God's system. The more you give, the more opportunities open up, but with the light heart, not greed. Not greed, right? So that's what you have to be careful with, right? Don't get into the greed because then that can create problems, right? We've all fallen into that, and then that just creates more problems. Obedience and action. Praying for wealth without wise financial decisions won't work. God blesses stewardship, discipline, and action. So you have to be a good steward of your blessings, right? And then as you have the blessings you have, when you have more blessings, you be a good steward of those. And then it just snowballs. Final thought, becoming a millionaire God's way isn't about greed. It's about using wealth as a tool for good, creating abundance, and helping others. Align faith with financial wisdom and prosperity will follow. Align faith with financial wisdom and prosperity will follow. So I really like that one. Ego is the Enemy. This one is timeless. This is a book by Ryan Holiday. It's the second time I've read this one. It's a guide about overcoming arrogance, about being down to earth, removing self-centeredness and ambition and the illusion of superiority over other people. And I know we feel like that in society. I kind of really been valuing humility more and more as we build success. We kind of like, hey, uh, sometimes you don't want to talk to people, or I've run into people that way. They kind of, they want to know who you are, what you do before they, kind of become friendly. So that is not the way to be as a human, right? And I think this book, I think, really brings this down. And it also makes us more open that we don't know all the answers, that we can make mistakes and we can learn from other people. And especially in the society we're at right now, in the period of history, I think it's a very useful book. He wrote it because he wished he had this wisdom when facing his own challenges. The core message is ego destroys progress. True success comes from humility, discipline, and staying a student. And if you don't know about Ryan Holiday, he has several books, and I've read at least two or three of them, and they're all really good. He used to be a assistant writer for Robert Greene, who is the author of Mastery, the Power, Human Nature, The Art of Seduction, The Art of War. So he used to write with him, and then he wanted to do, his goal was to become a writer, and he did. And he's written several books. I mean, he's been on several podcasts. I would look it up on Cal Newport's podcast, etc. Here's some other tips from the book. Ego destroys growth and creativity. Believing in your own greatness kills creativity. Stay humble in aspirations, gracious in success, and resilient in failure. Think big, act small. Avoid validation and chasing status. Silence is strength. Okay, how about those? Avoid validation and chasing status. Silence is strength, right? You know, social media, it's like a big thing, right? We got to show that we're successful, right? Because if God forbid, if people don't think we're successful on social media, right? Even though nobody's really looking at us, just the algorithm is. But I like being on social media because I get to spread the word. But we need to be very careful that we're always seeking validation and chasing status there, right? Leadership without ego. Having authority does not equal being an authority. Don't be an empty leader. John Boyd, do you need this test? Is this for growth or just ego? So ask the question, do you really need this? Is this for your growth or is it for your ego? How about we ask ourselves those questions when we're making decisions, taking a class, going to an event, pursuing a degree? Is it for our growth or for our ego? The best leaders delegate small decisions and focus on big picture strategy. They get a team to help them with that. Great teams play for the team, not for personal glory. How about that? Achievement as a team effort. Number three, discipline, mastery, and purpose over passion. Passion is overrated. Ego thrives on hype, but lacks discipline. Woo! Ego thrives on hype, but lacks discipline. That means you need discipline. Discipline is what it's about. Forget the hype. Passion is overrated. Just focus on how you want your lifestyle to be and hack at it over and over again. I love that one. Instead, follow purpose, realism, and perseverance. Work, improve, and master the fundamentals. That's what we need to do. Slow, steady progress locks in long-term gains. Avoid reckless risk-taking, maxing out credit cards, betting everything on one shot. Right? Focus on incremental growth. Incremental growth. It's okay. I like that one just so much. Ego leads to overconfidence and ruin. Bill Walsh's lessons, focus on the work. The score will take care of itself. There's a football coach, wrote a book on it. I have it on my to reads. I'll probably be reading that one soon. So I'll be telling you more about that one. But focus on the work. You can't control the results. We can't control them. We don't know what the scoreboard is going to say. We don't know what our net worth is going to be. We don't know if we're going to be able to write a bestseller, make $1 million. We don't really know what the next deal is going to generate, but we can prepare. We can do everything we can in our power to put ourselves in the right position to achieve that. I like it. That comes from John Wooden, right? We can, it also, you got to do what you got to do, and then the scoreboard will do what it needs to do. But what happens is the way that I look at it is that over time, the probabilities, the odds will favor you if you do the right things over and over again. Overconfidence makes you lose sight of reality, so stay humble. Success can make you slacken effort and lower standards, which leads to failure. So whenever you succeed, be thankful, rejuvenate, but know that there was also some luck in there, that you put in a lot of effort. Humble yourself a bit before jumping into the next thing, because if you slacken your effort, it may affect you, right? It may affect you. It's a good piece of advice. 5, redefining success, the long game. Paul Graham and startups. Great companies didn't start out with world-changing visions. I'm a big fan of Paul Graham. If you haven't read his essays, please add that to your list of things to do. He says, they began small, messy, iterative. Amazon, Google, YouTube. Paul Graham, if you don't know him, he's the founder of Y Combinator with his wife. And what they do is they invest. Now I think it's like $500,000. You apply with a business idea, you have the right team. They're looking for technical teams or even possible inventions and if they approve you, they'll give you $500,000 so you can hopefully build a company. And that's the goal with it. They'll take, I think, ownership of about 7% of your company. And they invested in top companies like Dropbox, Airbnb. Uh, I think also, what's the crypto base? Coinbase as well. So several top companies. Uh, Great guy. Avoid chasing the false crown, the desire to have everything and do everything. Say no, focus. That's hard. It's a real challenging one, but we need to. We can only do so many things. We only have so many resources. The world is indifferent to your wants. Do the work because the work itself is enough. I like that one. And that kind of comes from the Creative Act too, Rick Rubin. Do the work because the work itself is enough. You enjoy doing the work. You want the work to reflect what you are, what you believe, and you want to put it out there. That's it. The world is indifferent to your wants. They don't care about you. Unfortunately, that's just how the life is. But if you do the work, that's what you should care about, the quality of the work. Final thought, ego leads to self-destruction. True success is quiet, disciplined, and persistent. Stay a student, focus on the process, and let results take care of themselves. Whew, I love that one. I love that one. All right, so finishing up, The Algebra of Wealth by Scott Galloway. The Algebra of Wealth breaks down the formula for achieving financial success. He had a lot of tips in this book. So if you're just kind of getting into the wealth game, you're a young guy, gal, in college, outside of college, as a professional, it's a great book to start to build wealth. It emphasizes discipline, resilience, smart decision making. Wealth isn't just about making money, it's about developing habits, skills, and a mindset. So he talks a lot about that, about the mindset, which if you're not very patient with it, you just want the potatoes, meat and potatoes, you may not like it, but it's good because that comes first, right? Mindset comes first, and then the actions after that. One thing about Scott Galloway, if you don't know who he is, he's built several companies. He built his net worth up to over $100 million. And then he's started teaching at New York University. So he's been teaching, has a podcast, he writes several books. He's wrote the Four book, which is about Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. Good books, good author, and a genuinely good guy. If you check him out on some podcasts or YouTube, you'll see Scott Galloway. So his first tip is self-control and character drive wealth. Lack of self-control destroys wealth. Financial success requires discipline in spending, investing, and time management. Stoic values matter. Courage, wisdom, justice, temperance lead to long-term success. Failures are inevitable. Move through them without losing enthusiasm. So just, I like there's a quote I got about failure is that, look, the road to success leads right through the dump, right? So you have to go through a lot of failure because if it was easy, a lot of people would do it. So just get used to it. Just don't worry about it. Keep moving. Health and energy, well, they're multipliers. So if you have health, you have energy, they're multipliers because you can put the time and effort. Exercise is a top predictor of success. It helps you sleep better, 50% more effective than therapy or medical for depression. Boost energy to work harder and smarter. Match quality matters. So find and follow your natural talents, right? So look at that. He mentioned the whole thing about exercise. Make sure you're exercising, right? It's so positive. It helps with anxiety, depression. It's more effective than medication and even therapy for that. And it helps you sleep better. So make sure you're doing that. And it's a top predictor of success. They talked about make sure you match your talents with what you're doing. If you don't really like something, don't try to do something that's completely out of your wheelhouse. Not that, you can't try different things, but just know what's a good fit for you. Number 3, decision making and experience. For that, I'll say try Myers-Briggs test, try the DISC profile, try Ray Dalio's personality test. That really helps to find out what you're good at, and then you can kind of look professions under that. I'm a junkie about that, so that's really handy. Decision making and experience matter more than perfection. Wealth isn't about perfect decisions. It's about making more decisions and gaining experience. Track spending weekly. The Hawthorne effect shows that awareness improves performance. So if you track it, then you're going to improve how you do it, right? And thank you for my wife, Desiree, who does that, because that definitely helps us a lot. Number four, invest and leverage compounding returns. Max out your 401k matching. Some simple stuff, right? 100% return on investment. You're getting free money. Time is the ultimate asset. Once it's lost, it's gone forever. So invest early. Learn from losses. As Ray Dalio says, pain plus reflection equals progress, right? Pain plus reflection equals progress. Final thought, wealth isn't just about intelligence or luck. It's self-discipline, decision-making, and persistence. Get fit, take action, track your finances, and play the long game. All right, and this is the last one, guys and gals. This one is How Fintech is Changing Small Business Lending by Karen Mills. Karen Mills, she, I believe, worked in government, and she wrote this book. I'm a big fan of fintech. That's part of the other reason that I started the mortgage company, is I want to do something with fintech and technology, trying to see what's a good fit there. If you're a full stack developer, give me a shout out. Would love to chat with you. Karen Mills believes small businesses are the backbone of financial growth in fintech and financial technology, and it's making it easier for entrepreneurs to get loans. The key is faster, simpler, and more transparent lending. Now, how fintech helps small businesses get loans? The technology is making borrowing easier instead of long paperwork and waiting weeks. There's robo advisors that can help you get financial advice. It's helped businesses to not just get loans, but also decide what to buy and how to grow. Online lenders like Lendio and Fundera allow businesses to compare loan offers, just like how Credit Karma helped people find credit cards. The best lending models use both tech and human support. So Frost, there's a company called Frost. They're using a bank strategy. They have great online system, but still offer real people to help when needed. Risk-based pricing, higher risk businesses might pay a higher interest rate, but having access to money is better than getting no loan at all. Community banks and small lenders help businesses that big banks ignore, right? So that's an opportunity there. If you need a loan and you can't get it from a big bank, go to a community or small lender, credit unions. The future of small business lending is entrepreneurs will expect fast, easy, and clear loan options. More small businesses will use online platforms to compare loans and save time. And micro businesses, tiny companies need the most help. 59% of business loans go toward growing and expanding. So what about that? What if philanthropy could be doing microloans back in maybe your country, if there's some Latinos there or other minorities that you could do, right? Microloan could be $100 to $1,000. Final thought, fintech is making business loans faster and easier to get. The companies that will succeed are the ones that mix smart technology with great customer service. If you're an entrepreneur, the future means more loan choices, better pricing, and less hassle. Want to implement some of that in our Coso Capital website, so stay tuned for that. All right, guys, so that's it. That's all we have for today. The books review. Hope you got a lot out of it. See you next time. Please subscribe. Did you find the information valuable? Hopefully you did. If you did, please subscribe, like, comment, and share the podcast with some friends. It helps people find the show. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.